Good morning to all of you. I heartily welcome you all for this third day of this 5 days online workshop. Last 2 days we have learned about communication skills and life skills. I hope really it was benefited to all the participants. As the workshop is on role of youth in nation building, another important topic we have to discuss. That is, we have to create awareness on national integration. National integration, தேசிய ஒருமைப்பாடு, is very important in nation building. From Kanyakumari to Kashmir, we have to show that we are all one. For that, we have to create awareness among the youngsters to develop qualities for the improvement of national integration. Today, in our workshop, we have another dynamic personality, Lieutenant Dr. L. Merlin Diana, the Associate NCC Officer of Jayaraj Annapakyam College for Women, Autonomous, Periyekulam, Theni. I am very happy to introduce her for this workshop. Our college management is happy to know that Dr. Lieutenant L. Merlin Diana is one of our alumni. In our college, she completed her UG in zoology. After that, she has completed her PhD during 2014. In NCC, she started her career from 2011 until now. Her performance towards the welfare of the cadets is appreciable. She has conducted many workshops, seminars by serving as organizing secretary, convener of the program, and etc. And also, she attended many programs to develop qualities. Such a great personality is now going to deliver her presentation on the topic awareness on national integration. On behalf of 11th Tamil Nadu Battalion NCC Nagarkoil, the management of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering Nagarkoil, the management of Nesamani Memorial Christian College Martanda, the organizers of this 5 days workshop, and on behalf of all participants, I welcome Lieutenant Dr. L. Merlin Diana to present on awareness on national integration. Thank you.
A pleasant morning to all. It's a pleasure to welcome all the NCC cadets and NCC officers from all over India to this third day workshop on role of youth in nation building. First of all, I would like to thank the management, coordinators and organizers of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering Nagarkoil and Nesamani Memorial Christian College Marthandam for giving me a wonderful chance to serve as the resource person and share my few views through this online program to the cadets. Thank you so much, Major Dr. S. Edwin Gladson sir and Captain Dr. A. Boyd Wesley sir. At this juncture, my special gratitude goes to the Officer Commanding Colonel Vinod Bhaskar and AO sir, Lieutenant Colonel V.V. Prasad, 11th Tamil Nadu Battalion NCC Nagarkoil, for arranging such an excellent workshop to the NCC cadets during this lockdown period. Now, I must thank Officer Commanding Colonel Bibil Chandranath, 2 Tamil Nadu Girls Battalion NCC, Madurai, who is always encouraging us for the betterment of the NCC cadets. With all this, now I am going to taking you briefly to the important aspects and awareness on national integrations. I assure you that this session will be very much useful to the NCC cadets in the forthcoming NCC examinations. Okay, dear participants, let us all start the today's session on national integration. The NCC is a shining example of national integration, and you are the pillars of our nation. Indian civilization is one of the oldest civilization in the world. In the past, people belonging to different races and religions came and settled here. They brought with them their distinctive language and lifestyle. Different tribes with their distinctive language intermingled with various tribes of our country. That's why our culture is described as an example of composite culture. It's made up of all communities, races, and religions. First, we can see what is national integration. National integration means a feeling of togetherness and unity among the people of a country. It also means an atmosphere in which all citizens, irrespective of their caste, religion, and region, live together peacefully. It refers to integration in all respects: social, political, economical, and above all emotional. In an integrated country, people share common goals. They all work together and cooperate with each other for the prosperity of the nation. We must understand that national integration does not mean uniformity of all. It does not stand for uniformity of religion, dress, and food habits, etc. It means both preservation of diverse culture and at the same time living and working in harmony with each other. No country or society can survive if its people do not remain united. The feeling of togetherness and a sense of belonging are absolutely necessary for a nation to survive. Such a feeling can only be generated through the process of integration. Thus, national integration is a positive concept which provides strength to the people to fight against all evil forces. It provides a congenial conditions in which people can make good progress. Here we can see what are the fundamentals of national unity. That is language, education, regionalism, communalism, and casteism. First one is language. It's a narrow-minded love towards one's own language, and negative feeling towards others is a major hindrance to unity. No country can stand on the pillars of an aligned language. A language, instead of dividing, should be a unifying force. Along with regional languages, one national language should be fully developed. Languages of different states should be encouraged in the educational institutions. Second one is casteism. It's felt in offices and colleges, in politics, and at most in all walks of life. The feeling of belonging to an upper caste and hatred for the lower caste is not only an offense against mankind, it's a threat to Indians' unity. The system of casteism and untouchability would eat into the very vitals of a society. Casteism should be tackled with an iron hand. There should be no communal or special constituents. The minority communities should be given their due share of advancement and communal favoritism should be sternly dealt with. Next one is education. In India, about half of the total population is illiterate. An illiterate person cannot understand what is good or bad for himself or his country. Literacy is an important ingredient for unity. The pattern of education should be so oriented that encourages love, brotherhood, and unity among various communities. There could be exchange of teachers from one state to another, and there should be no bar on the students of one state for admission into the universities or other states. It would help to cement the bonds of unity, which is an essence of any nation. Next one is communalism. Communalism means discriminatory feelings of an individual against another on the basis of religion or caste. This also endangers the unity of our country. Fundamentalism is the greatest challenge to India's unity. This has to be sternly dealt with. The politicians who encourage provincialism and regionalism should be debarred from elections as members of legislative bodies. All citizens should regard themselves as Indians first and build unity between different sections of our society. Last one is regionalism. India is a vast country where regions diversities exist. The feeling of loyalty towards one's own state or region first is also a major hindrance in unity. People from different parts of the diversified subcontinent should meet under a common wing of national consciousness, forgetting the regional differences, sharing the feelings of togetherness, and realize the proud feeling in themselves of being part and parcel of a common Indian diaspora. Now we can see what is the relevance of NCC in unifying India and what are the important ingredients of national unity. NCC creates awareness among the people about the diverse heritage of our country and fosters national integration despite linguistic, cultural, religious, and geographical barriers. It helps cadets to gain experience to live together, cooperate with each other, and work in harmony among the cadets of various states, thus strengthening the unity of the people. The important ingredients of national unity are ethics and social values, cultural and traditional values, discipline and patriotism. Here we can see the role of youth in nation building. The youth of nation are the backbone and the most powerful force within the nation. They are the hope of the future and can shape the destiny of the country. History shows that countries subjected to align rule have without exception sought the help of youth in times of crisis. The youth have also been instrumental in the change of governments whenever need for such a change has been felt. They have always been in the forefront in the building of political, social, and economical orders of a society. They play a positive role for the cause of nation and national integration. Today's generation faces greater challenges and national building due to the force and pressure of internal politics and external conflicts. Dear participants, now we are going to discuss about why is national integration important for progress of any nation. National integration assumes greater importance, particularly in a country like India, where people with different languages, religions, races, and culture are required to be viewed together. The unity in diversity of which we are proud of can only be maintained if we have the understanding and respect for each other, religions, customs, and traditions. It's said that united we stand and divided we fall. If we have to survive as a nation and safeguard our sovereignty and national integrity, we have to remain united. National integration is a prerequisite for survival and prosperity of any nation and hence needs no emphasis. The national integration is a must to achieve the basic for survival of any nation. First one is maintenance of sovereignty and territorial integrity of a nation, maintenance of peace and harmony. Then growth and development of the nation, eradication of poverty and illiteracy, internal security and law and order, economic and industrial growth, culture and religious development, attract foreign investments and increase import and export, dignity and self-respect as a nation, welfare and well-being of the people. Last one is foreign relations and better standing among the nations of the world. Dear cadets, now we can see the how can youth contribute individually for nation building. First one is be good human being by imbibing Oriental value system. Help the friends and colleagues from unprivileged sections of the society. Improve personal talent, innovate and enhance your usefulness for society and nation. Discourage corruptions in every form and manifestation in society. Participates in sports, yoga and improve personal health. Use natural resources like energy in all forms, communication spectrum, water resources, etc. and discourage its misuse by others. Develop secular outlook and tolerance for all sections of the society. Extend willing help to civil administration during natural and man-made disasters. Last one is learn healthy politics during the college days. Cadets, here we can see the famous leaders of India. The India has already started NCC, NSS and National Service Volunteer Scheme and other similar organizations which are an asset to our nation. Apart from these measures to channelize young energy into constructive channels, the following few steps can be taken. Films with a social upliftment and nation building as theme would make a fair contribution in instilling a healthy and progressive attitude in the youth. NGOs should also engage youth in such programs which strengthen nation building. There should be integration committees composed of representatives of various committees at villages, city, district, state and national level. Youth should be engaged in such committees to contribute in society. Youth to train themselves effectively both in institutional and adventure activities. Here we can see the security. The nation today faces grave security concerns both externally and internally. This intensifies when viewed with the fact that our country is a respected democratic country with a secular base. The terrorist, fundamentalist and are the grave danger to our country. The youth are the pulse and strength of the nations and with their alertness and their balanced approach can help in bringing stability to the nation and help in selfless designs of the enemy. Now we can see the social and cultural activities. The youth are the privileged persons in the society who can contribute to the development. Therefore, They have a special responsibility and should actively participate in the development plans of the nation. Youth should be acquainted with the major problems facing the country. Firstly, they should study the basic problem of health, AIDS, environment, nutrition, lack of education, economic backwardness, ignorance, dowry debts, casteism, and superstitions, false belief of the masses. Our society is experiencing a constant changes and faces the conflicting ideologies of the past vice versa. Our past with the shadow of casteism, superstition and religious overtones needs a balanced approach, and the youth can play a very important role in this regard and educate the general public about the misnomers relating to superstition, the need to do away with the caste system and encourage lateral, vertical and diagonal intermingling of people to mesh them into a true India network. They can establish good rapport with the people so as to involve them in active participation in social work, which will be help to make society a better place to live in. Further, the government programs such as Clean and Green are very good opportunities for youth to join hands with their countrymen and have inputs in the process of nation building. Young men and women are the reservoir of unbounded energy and enthusiasm. Youth should accept all the challenges faced by the country. Let the youth be put the best use. For this, their energies, skills and talents have to properly harnessed, channelized and put to right use for the common good of the country. Dear cadets, now we can see the definition of nation state. Nation state can be defined as the country which has essential elements of population, territory, sovereignty and government. Next one is, what are the national interests of a nation? First one is sovereignty. It is the foremost interest of a nation is to be autonomous and remain independent. Next one is integrity. The nation should be full, indivisible and have a well-defined territory. Third one is unity. The nation should be a secular union of states with political power belonging to a central confederate authority with united and undivided goals without factional, sectarian and fanatical prejudices. It should be tolerant towards caste, color, creed, religion and language of each other. Last one is security. The nation must ensure safety, territorial integrity and protection of the state against external threat or supervision. Next part is objectives of national. India is a developing country. It has made rapid progress in all the spheres after its independence, viz. Agriculture, industrialization, urbanizations, etc. Dear cadets, now we can see the national objectives. India is a developing country. It has made rapid progress in all the spheres after its independence, viz. Agriculture, industrialization, urbanization, etc. To visualize what India would be in future in all spheres is not an easy task. While ultimate objectives and millennium goals of the nation lie ahead, the basic objectives are found in the directive principles of state policy enshrined in the constitutions of India, which took effect when India became republic. Directive principles of state policy lays down a code of conduct for the administrators of India in the discharge of their responsibilities as agents of the sovereign nation. They guide the path which will lead the people of India to achieve the noble ideals which the preamble of the constitutions proclaim: justice, social, economic and political liberty, equality and fraternity. The National Integration Council originated in a conference convened by them PM Jawaharlal Nehru in September to October of 1961. The National Integration met for the first time in June 1962. The NIC was reconstituted and met again in August 2005. The new council had 103 members, including 12 chief ministers and 12 union ministers and leaders of all major political parties. The purpose was to find ways to address the problems of communalism, casteism and regionalism. The conference set up the NIC to review nation integration issues and make recommendations. In April 2010, the NIC was again reconstituted with 147 members. These are all the opportunities for national integration. They can get the opportunities in defense forces and central police, other organizations and national level games and national cadet corps. Things to say no to contribute for national building, that is drugs, dowry, illicit sexual relations, anti-social activities and use of child labor. Here we can see the things to say yes to contribute for national building. Avoid rash driving of vehicles, carry driving license, wear helmet always while driving a two-wheeler, follow road etiquettes, don't use cell phone while driving, help and look after your aging parents, relatives and neighbors. There are 16 articles of the Constitution from 36 to 51 that deal with the directive principles of state policy. That is, to ensure and protect a social order which stands for the welfare of the people, separation of judiciary from the executive, protection of national monuments, protection and improvement in environment, forest and wildlife, organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines, improvement of public health, prohibition of intoxicating drinks and drugs, promotion of educational and economic interest of weaker sections of the people. Apart from the above directive principles, current objectives of our nations are self-sufficiency in nuclear power, availability of reliable power supply for farming and industries, production of goods for world markets, balancing growth in both public and private sector, modernization of villages, linking with roads and provision of electricity to all villages. To have uniform code of law irrespective of caste, creed, color and religion. Participation of workers and laborers in labor law, promotion of cottage industries, provision of maternity leave, education to all, equal justice to all, equal pay for equal work for both men and women, adequate means of livelihood to all citizens. In the conclusion part, India's culture has been changing and developing due to internal factors and contact with other cultures. This process of change and development continues. The culture of India, as of any other country, is not a fixed entity. Many aspects of cultures, if they progress, get discarded. Others are changed, sometimes beyond recognition. Some others continue to survive and remain impertinent, and while many new elements are added. A remarkable feature of Indian historical and cultural development has been its continuity. This continuity has few parallels in the history of other civilizations. It's the duty of each and every citizens of our country to strive to achieve unity in spite of diversity and further cement it. We must remember that there should be no divisions between North and South or East and West of India. There is only one India of which we all Indians are inheritors. We are Indian first and Indians last. Thank you. Thank you for your patient listening.